The problem with the stem cells, from our patient's own body is as follows. We all have stem cells. If we wouldn't have stem cells, we could not live, because stem cells are, helping us, with the cell division, and maintaining the organs in process. Can you imagine what kind of turnover of cells is in our body? Can you imagine that the cells that line our gastrointestinal tract, stomach, intestine, and colon, you know how long these cells live? 2 days. Every 2 days they have to be replaced by a new set of cells. Our body is programmed to do that if we are healthy, okay? If the body cannot keep up, with the loss, then the number of cells which are being replaced in the gastrointestinal tract is gradually diminishing, and at a certain point in time, it starts to, alter the normal function of the stomach and intestine and colon. All right, and it's getting worse and worse that this will become a disease. Intestinal disease or stomach disease or colon disease, and eventually if it keeps on going on and on and on, that organ will fail. All right. Now imagine that it is an organ with colon. We can maybe do something about it, but imagine that this would be organ like kidneys or heart and so on and so forth. Then the only thing you can do there is to do organ transplantation. You cannot save the life of such a patient. So once more, all cells in our body go through a turnover. Now, red blood cells will live 120 days, but white blood cells, 2 days. Very important, lymphocytes live about 4 days, after which they have to be replaced, you see. So, inside of our body, things are very busy, And there is only, when the regenerative powers of our body are, worsening, and they cannot keep up anymore, there is only one therapy that can actually fix it. It's cell transplantation. Medicine has nothing to offer to restore regenerative powers of the body to normal. Okay. Now, what is very little known, to my great surprise, is, do you know which organ has no regenerative power? Heart. The heart muscle fibers have no power to regenerate. Imagine what happens, a patient suffers heart attack, okay? And certain percentage of the heart muscle fibers is, damaged to the point of destruction. Patient immediately upon being brought to the hospital gets a special kind of scan, which is going to show the cardiologist, how much of that, heart muscle is actually damaged. But scan will not tell him, how many of those cells are gone, permanently, or how many are damaged, so they could be brought back to life. Now, in cardiology, it doesn't make any difference, because destroyed cell or damaged cell is simply non-functioning cell. And so the cardiologist knows, that if it shows 70% of the cells to be non-functioning, that is a death sentence. Nobody can live, with 30% of heart muscle fibers, pumping the blood. It can, patient can lie in bed and lie for the rest of his life, and maybe survive for a certain period of time, but he certainly cannot get up because there is not enough blood flow guaranteed by such a small number. Okay. Now, at the same time, it has been in experiments proven that actually those cells which are damaged can be actually brought back. And so the first place was in one of the university hospitals in Paris, France, about 7-8 years ago, when they treated patients in exactly the same type of condition by implanting, the cells, this time taken from the patient's own muscles, from the thigh muscle, okay? And the implantation was done through the, into the coronary artery. about 7 days later, because they needed 7 days to run this, peripheral muscle fibers through a tissue culture to improve its condition. Okay. Now they found out that of these patients that had 70%, functional loss of the heart muscle fibers, half of those were recoverable. So the patient from 70% loss went down to 35. Now with 35% loss of the heart muscle fibers, you will not be running marathon, or mounting Kilimanjaro or something of that sort, but you can live a normal life. Okay, that makes a lot of difference. So after Paris, they continued in this work in Germany, in 2 university hospitals, where they instead of using the peripheral muscle fibers, they took cells from the bone marrow, counting on those mesenchymal cells. And now there is, there is a third place in Hanover. And so overall, it was proven that in reality there is a way to save the life of such a patient. But there is only one way. And the way is called cell transplantation, or in German, Zellentherapie. All right, now, when we talk about using of the patient's own cells, we already accepted the fact that we all must have stem cells, because without that, this turnover of cells in our body cannot be assured. That is, key ingredient for this whole thing. But we have to also recognize that if I am going to take a cells from my own body and I'm going to be 70 years old, my stem cells are as old as I am. Those stem cells don't have the vitality, and all of the other qualities that has stem cells from the fetus. See, that is the point that we have to understand here. See, and next item is how many different cell types we can get, from our body. We can get, blood, of course. We can get piece of skin. We can get tissue under the skin. We can get fatty tissue, all right? With some great difficulty, we can stick a needle into the liver, and do a liver biopsy, obtain some material that can be, worked on and implanted. Likewise, we can do a kidney biopsy. But, we could, for example, poke a needle into the pancreas. But let me tell you, that has to be a virtuoso, who can actually get the needle into the pancreas without damaging many other things, And all of these, punctures, of course, have complications. You stick a needle into the liver, you just watch it. It bleeds like hell, and the same spleen even more, Spleen is so bad that patient can actually, lose so much blood he can die from that, and so on and so forth. So, in other words, the problem is, can you get, a piece of human brain? Can I get a piece of my brain to be used for reimplantation? Of course not. If anybody, I would be locked up in a psychiatric institution, and doctor would be locked in jail for poking, into the patient's brain to get a tissue from the brain, you see. So there's tremendous limitation as to what you can do in terms of being able to get, you see. And the problem is what is happening even in medical journal articles. I was invited speaker at about, it was I think year 2008 in Cairo, where the Cairo is the, I don't know if World Health Organization means anything to you. World Health Organization is that part of the United Nations which deals with medicine and healthcare. Center of that is in Geneva, Switzerland, okay, and they have other offices, and the office for the Middle East is in Cairo. So at this place they organized a roundtable, conference about the cell transplantation between Islamic Organization of Medical Science and World Health Organization. And this issue came up from, a question came up from the audience, and one of the three invited people was this colleague from Stanford University, who actually was an MD, but working strictly in research, and the world expert on the certain issues of the so-called nuclear transfer, which is very important in the in getting the embryonic stem cell transplantation, so on and so forth. And I like very much his answer. He said, "Listen, in laboratory," and because the article that came out was that the skin from prepuce of the penis was taken, and in laboratory modified into all kinds of stem cells, including neurons. And that, of course, in my head, that was clear the answer. And he said, you see, in laboratory you can do all kind of hocus pocus. You can change one cell into another cell and so on and so forth. But the key point is, the moment of truth is, if you have gotten neurons from the skin of prepuce of the penis, implant it. See what it will do. I mean, because he of course told everybody, listen, don't expect anything, because it just cannot happen. Because even though it looks like a neuron, but it is not really functional neuron. It's a sort of Hollywood modification thereof, okay, and so on and so forth. That is the whole point that we are speaking about. You see.